Most people break long before life truly tests them, not because life is too cruel, but because their minds are too soft. They let emotions lead them, let opinions define them, let fear decide for them, and when real pressure finally arrives, they collapse under weight they were never trained to carry. They think the world defeated them, when in reality their own reactions did. But Niccolò Machiavelli understood something most never will. The strongest mind is not the kindest, not the loudest, not the most expressive. It is the most controlled. He believed your mind is your throne, and if you do not rule it with discipline, someone else will rule it for you through provocation, manipulation, and pressure. Being mentally untouchable does not happen by accident. You do not wake up one morning immune to criticism or indifferent to betrayal. You build that immunity piece by piece through strategy, detachment, and ruthless self-observation. The world will test you with rejection, disrespect, delay, and uncertainty. Most people will react. You will not. That is the difference. Ask yourself honestly, do you control your mind, or does the world control it for you? Because that single answer defines your destiny. If other people can shift your mood with a sentence, they own leverage over you. If social approval dictates your confidence, you are negotiating from weakness. If fear of loss drives your decisions, you are already compromised. But if you control your interpretations, your timing, your emotional exposure, you become untouchable. Untouchable by insult, because you refuse to internalize it. Untouchable by betrayal because you expected human inconsistency. Untouchable by chaos because your inner structure is stronger than external noise. From this moment forward, you think strategically. You observe before reacting. You detach before responding. You use discipline as armor and silence as a weapon. And once you rule your mind, no one can invade your peace without your permission. That is not arrogance. That is sovereignty. Number 1. Control the narrative. Power begins in perception. The way people see you determines how they treat you, test you, and trust you. The world is not ruled by truth alone, it is ruled by appearance reinforced over time. People do not see your intentions. They see your posture, your tone, your pacing, your emotional steadiness. They decide your strength before you ever finish your first sentence. If you look uncertain, they probe. If you look reactive, they pressure. If you look composed, they hesitate. You can be intelligent, skilled, even exceptional, but if you allow others to define your story, you surrender your authority before the game begins. Truth is often quiet. Perception is loud, and perception shapes treatment. If you over-explain, you appear defensive. If you rush to clarify, you appear insecure. If you argue emotionally, you appear unstable. The moment you begin defending your image aggressively, you confirm doubt instead of dissolving it. To be mentally untouchable, you must become the architect of your own perception. That does not mean faking confidence. It means controlling exposure. Speak with intention. Move deliberately. Pause without discomfort. Let silence create weight behind your words. When people label you, do not react instantly. Rewrite the label through consistent action. When they underestimate you, do not complain. Perform once, precisely, in a way that shifts their internal calculation. Authority is not announced, it is inferred. In every room, there is an invisible hierarchy forming, built not on volume but on stability. The loud seek attention. The strategic seek control. When you enter, you do not chase validation. You manage energy. You slow the tempo. You maintain eye contact. You refuse to leak nervousness through unnecessary words. Over time, the image becomes reality. The mind believes what the eyes repeatedly witness. If people repeatedly see you calm, deliberate, and difficult to shake, they begin treating you as such even before fully understanding why. Number 2. Detach from emotion. Emotion is the easiest doorway through which the world enters your mind. The moment someone can reliably trigger your anger, sadness, or urgency, they possess a switch connected to your nervous system. Predictable reactions make you controllable. Detachment is not coldness. It is disciplined awareness. It is the ability to feel without being dragged, When insulted, most people respond instantly because their ego demands defense. That instant response reveals vulnerability. It shows where you are attached. The untouchable mind does something different. It pauses. It observes the stimulus. It evaluates intent. Is this challenge strategic, emotional, irrelevant, or useful? Only then does it respond, if response is necessary at all. The fool reacts immediately. The strategist responds selectively. Detachment does not mean you suppress anger. It means anger does not dictate your timing. You can experience disappointment without letting it define your behavior. You can acknowledge betrayal without allowing it to poison your focus. You are not your emotions. You are the one observing them. Emotions are weather. You are the sky. Storms pass. But if you chase every thunderclap, you exhaust yourself. Stillness under pressure is deeply unsettling to unstable people because they cannot predict it. And what cannot be predicted cannot be manipulated easily. Imagine two individuals insulted publicly. One explodes, voice rising, gestures sharp, proving exactly where he is sensitive. The other holds eye contact, slight nod, controlled breath, and replies with a single measured sentence or perhaps nothing at all. The room shifts toward the second, not because he was right, but because he was stable. Stability signals power. When you detach from impulsive reaction, you begin seeing patterns instead of personal attacks. You conserve energy. You become selective with what deserves your attention. That selectivity is dangerous. It means not everything can reach you. Number 3. Expect betrayal and trust strategy. Loyalty in the world is often conditional, attached to benefit, convenience, and shifting interest. Expecting betrayal does not make you paranoid. It makes you prepared. When you assume permanence in people whose incentives can change, you place your peace in unstable hands. The strategic mind replaces blind trust with structural design. It builds systems, savings, diversified alliances, independent leverage. It positions itself so no single individual holds absolute power over its stability. When betrayal happens, it does not collapse in shock. It adjusts. It had already calculated the possibility. Betrayal is information. It reveals character alignment, incentive shifts, and hidden priorities. Instead of reacting emotionally, you document the lesson. You update your strategy. You reduce exposure. You strengthen independence. This is not bitterness. It is realism. Most people are destroyed not by betrayal itself, but by disbelief that it could happen. They ignore early signals because hope feels better than preparation. The untouchable mind does the opposite. It watches patterns. It values actions over promises. It measures consistency over charm. It opens slowly and withdraws strategically. It does not build walls of isolation. It builds gates with criteria. And even when loyalty is proven, it remains aware that human incentives evolve. That awareness removes fear. When you expect the possibility of betrayal, you stop being emotionally shattered by it. You remain alert without becoming cynical. You protect your position without losing composure. Strategy becomes your shield, and clarity becomes your armor. Number 4. Appear calm and think cold. In chaos, the calm individual automatically rises in perceived authority because emotional contrast highlights control. Most minds are reactive. They rush speech, rush decisions, rush conclusions. The cold thinker slows everything down. He processes before speaking. He chooses timing carefully. He understands that patience is control over tempo, and tempo defines power. If others are loud, you become measured. If others are frantic, you become precise. This contrast builds psychological weight. Calmness without edge is passivity, but calmness combined with readiness creates intimidation. The principle of the lion and the fox, described by Machiavelli, teaches balance. You must recognize traps like the fox and project strength like the lion. That requires emotional regulation on the surface and strategic calculation beneath. When confronted publicly, your tone remains steady. When interrupted repeatedly, you allow it once, perhaps twice, then firmly reclaim space without anger. Controlled confrontation in front of witnesses can recalibrate hierarchy instantly. Not shouting, not attacking, just a precise boundary delivered with eye contact and stillness. Afterward, you return to neutral. No lingering emotion, no over-explanation. That contrast between calm and decisive firmness creates unpredictability, and unpredictability creates caution in others. They begin calculating before challenging you. They begin respecting the boundary before crossing it. Over time, your composure becomes your identity. No one knows your breaking point because you do not advertise it. You are difficult to destabilize, and that difficulty increases perceived value. Number 5. Keep power in silence. The more you speak unnecessarily, the more you reveal patterns. Patterns create predictability. Silence, when used intentionally, creates space. In that space, others often reveal themselves. They overtalk, overcommit, overexpose. You gather information while revealing little. Silence also protects your plans. Not every intention requires announcement. Not every goal requires discussion. When you justify constantly, you invite evaluation. When you argue constantly, you signal insecurity. But when you speak rarely and precisely, your words gain weight. People listen more carefully because scarcity increases perceived importance. Silence is not weakness, it is energy conserved. It is power concentrated rather than scattered. Mastering silence requires overcoming the urge to prove yourself. Ego craves immediate validation. It wants to correct every misunderstanding. But every correction leaks emotional investment. The untouchable mind asks a simple question before speaking: does this serve my long-term position? If the answer is no, it withholds. In negotiation, silence pressures the impatient. In conflict, silence unsettles the aggressive. In leadership, silence communicates confidence in one's position. When you finally decide to speak, it is deliberate and controlled. Over time, this pattern creates mystique. You become less readable, and when people cannot fully read you, they cannot easily manipulate you. Number 6. Master the art of absence. Constant availability reduces perceived value. Scarcity amplifies it. When you are always accessible, always responding instantly, always present in every interaction, you normalize your presence. But when you manage exposure, when you withdraw strategically to focus, recalibrate, or simply avoid unnecessary noise, your presence regains weight. Absence creates curiosity. It forces others to reflect rather than consume. It also protects your mental clarity. Continuous interaction drains focus and exposes emotional triggers. Strategic withdrawal strengthens independence. When you step back without explanation, you observe who reaches out consistently and who disappears. That data is valuable. Absence is not avoidance, it is timing. Appear when it matters. Withdraw when it does not. Do not announce your retreat. Do not dramatize your silence. Simply reduce availability and redirect energy toward growth, skill, and strategy. When you return composed and improved. Let results speak rather than excuses. People respect what is slightly out of reach. They chase what they cannot fully control. By mastering absence, you shift from being constantly consumed to being selectively experienced. That shift changes perception from ordinary to significant. Number 7. Rule your mind, and you rule everything. External control begins with internal weakness. If your thoughts are chaotic, your actions will be inconsistent. If your emotions dictate your focus, your strategy will fracture. Mental mastery begins with awareness. Observe your thoughts as they arise. Challenge irrational fears. Replace impulsive narratives with deliberate ones. Train yourself to delay gratification. Train yourself to tolerate discomfort. Every time you resist an impulsive reaction, you strengthen discipline. Every time you choose logic over ego, you reinforce control. Over months and years, this compounds into stability that others cannot easily shake. The untouchable mind does not deny emotion, it directs it. It does not ignore pain, it extracts lessons from it. It does not chase approval, It prioritizes alignment with long-term goals. When insulted, it evaluates usefulness. When betrayed, it updates strategy. When challenged, it controls tempo. When praised, it remains grounded. This consistency builds inner sovereignty. And sovereignty eliminates dependency on external validation. Once you rule your mind, chaos loses leverage. Pressure becomes testing ground instead of threat. You stop reacting to life and begin directing it deliberately, step by step, decision by decision. Being mentally untouchable does not mean becoming cold or disconnected. It means becoming selective with your emotional exposure. It means nothing moves you without permission. It means you decide when to speak, when to confront, when to withdraw, and when to act. Perception becomes your tool. Detachment becomes your shield. Silence becomes your leverage. Absence becomes your amplifier. Strategy becomes your foundation, and mental discipline becomes your throne. When these elements combine, you become difficult to destabilize and impossible to manipulate easily. The world does not respect what it can control. The moment you control your mind completely, you remove the handles others use to move you. And when no one can move you without your consent, you are no longer surviving the world. You are ruling your position within it.